Welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna be hopping in the boat with Brad Hawthorne and Sam Larsen, and we're gonna be chasing down springtime walleyes using jigs, specifically Northland's new Tungsten Jig. We're gonna put a bunch of fish in the boat and share a bunch of good tips with you. So without further ado, let's jump right in.
Nice one, Sam.
Oh yeah.
So we were just debating color here, and I was like, oh, we changed sections of the lake, and this section of the lake is dirty, and Sam put on the color Moonlight. I stuck with gold, and he literally got bit on his first cast.
That new tungsten short shank jig, slip hook on the shiner.
He's mad too, look at him.
Perfect, right in the snout.
I think I might change color.
How important is color, Brad?
It's really important. I mean, so yesterday it was all gold. It was solid gold. That's all we got bid on was gold. We got bid on gold and purple. And right now we've had a lot of rain. The creeks are blowing out like crazy. This water is more like Upper Red Lake, Lake of the Woods color. And I already had gold tied on. Sam looked at it, he's like, you know, I'm gonna go with Moonlight. It's a zappier glow color, and whammo, first cast, he's catching fish. I was like, well, I'll stick with gold here. And I'm on my 10th cast versus 1, so this will be the last cast with gold. So does color matter? Yes. Do jigs that sink heavier and fall faster matter? Yes. Do jigs with hooks made to hook shiners and plastics and the length of your shank of your hook, does that matter? It all matters when you're talking jigs.
Speaking of jigs, Sam and Brad are gonna show off another jig-eating walleye, and they're gonna talk a little bit about the benefits of using a jig that's specifically made of tungsten.
The wind is dying down and the fishing is heating up.
Exactly.
So the whole, you know, walleye chop thing, that's a nice one too. The whole gotta have wind to have walleye is completely false. There you go. Another one for Sam.
Sam's on fire.
He is on fire.
Oh yeah. Right in the top there, but
Like the advantages of tungsten is getting down there faster, being able to telegraph the bite. That's the one thing that people don't talk about. They talk about it in the winter, they do not talk about it in the summer. Tungsten telegraphs like metal. Like you got a metal rod that's like tinging the bottom. If any of you guys have ever drop shotted and used tungsten weight versus a lead weight, you can literally feel everything on the bottom. It'll tell you if it's small rock, big rock, and the same thing with tungsten jigs. And that's my number one like love factor with tungsten jigs is telegraphing the bite back.
exactly. And looking at your side imaging, seeing what's out there, feeling when you're coming off that break, and where you kind of are in the water column. It's a really good learning deal too. And if you can dial that in, you can really find the spot on the spot.
Oh,
and get
for
more fish.
For sure. And that's part of it too. Like when you're pitching fast, when you need, like here, when I was like, man, I can't believe the fish haven't bit yet. Well, we hadn't drifted back to them yet. Was when the fish are in tight schools, you want that jig to get down there as soon as possible. Especially you're fishing a school of fish that's 10 feet by 10 feet. You got to get right in the sweet spot. So I don't know, tungsten, there's a bunch of different ways, just like winter, that tungsten shines. And ultimately, as cost comes down on it, I truly believe that just like in the winter, we're gonna see tungsten kind of phase it out.
When you spend this much on minnows, it's not hard to spend a few extra dollars on your jig to have the best experience out there, because you're losing minnows all the time.
Right.
You're only losing jigs a few times, so
exactly,
it's definitely worth it.
Right away, Sam.
So here again, not only can you feel bottom, but you can feel bites. This walleye came in and dunked me, and I slowed it down, creeped it on the bottom, and sure enough, he came back and chowed it. Oh, come here. Right in the top lip. So yeah, not only does tungsten help for feeling what you're fishing, but it also gives you those little key subtle bites that they're going in, and this fish is a result of that. Another beautiful walleye, but he's got to go back with style.
Now, since Sam was so red hot this particular morning, just catching walleyes left and right. I had him break down exactly what he was doing, how he was working the bait to get those fish to bite. And he also gets a little bit into some of his thoughts on short shank versus longer shank jigs for walleyes, specifically in spring when we're fishing.
I'm just casting out with the tungsten short shank 1/4 ounce, hitting bottom and doing 2 little quick double hops off the bottom. And they're picking it up right off that hop, so they must be chasing it. Ooh, this is a little nicer fish, Brad.
Oh, that is a nice one.
There we go. Man, Sam has been like just lights out this morning.
Fire.
Right in the snoot again. That's why I like this tungsten short shank, because it works. You know, we got shiners today, and in our shiner bucket there's a whole variety of sizes, from stuff 1.5 inches all the way up to 3, maybe even 4 inches in the short shank. Hook them through the lips, it works perfect with any size minnow. It's a nice little compact profile, just like the fireball jig. It's been around for years, but now in that tungsten thin profile, helps you get down. It's an awesome jig. A short shank jig does a really nice job of keeping a nice compact live bait profile no matter what the minnow size is. Sometimes I really like double hook shiners, and then I'll use that more standard shank we have. But if you're just going through the lips, it keeps that bait right up tight to the jig on the bottom. I think it's just a really natural, nice looking profile, and the fish seem to be liking it today. So there's definitely times where the short shank really shines.
Like Sam's doing more of a lip skull like hook. I prefer my hook a little bit farther back, which nothing wrong with that at all. And it's just a preference, you know. This way balances the jig a little bit more. What he's doing, Sam is taking that short shank and he's just hopping it. So it's like boop, boop, boop on the bottom, and that's got that hook pointed up. Like when walleyes are gonna hit that thing, they're getting hooked. I mean, I haven't seen Sam miss a fish all day. So his technique and choice of, you know, hook shank length is definitely working. He's skipping his on the bottom. I am doing the swim, slow swim, like 1 or 2 right above the bottom. So that's why some guys will go, well, why do they make 2 shank sizes or 3 shank sizes? And the reason is because there's tons of different applications where a short shank is going to work better, a longer shank is going to work better, and vice versa.
Sam was really kicking everybody's butt this morning, but Brad wasn't going to let him have the walleye master mantle for too long.
Sam's been just like 2 for 1 in me, and I finally think I got the right flavor. Oh, I got the right flavor, and it's big.
Beauty.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh, come here, come here, come here, come here. Look at the size of that one. Redemption. It's my redemption fish. So that one, I don't know if you guys caught that, but we were just kind of chatting away. And whammo, it just popped it. The cool part is, I know we kind of talked about it a little bit, but just like in the winter, that one wasn't coming off. You feel so much more with a tungsten jig. It just telegraphs weight right back to your rod, which gives you a better hook set. You don't deep hook fish as much, and it just gives you a better fishing experience, you know? And there's proof in the pudding. I'm not saying you're gonna throw tungsten jigs on the snaggiest, rockiest stuff, but if you're doing a nice mix of areas, switching up plastics, and it's proven to be a heck of a bait delivery system. The one thing to take a look at, if you are gonna put plastics on it, take a look at the keeper on the tungsten jig. There are 2 molded in hooks on the top of that shank that absolutely grip plastics and minnows like crazy. But let me get this guy back.
Next up, Sam and Brad are gonna break down the strategy that we've been using for a long time to make pinpoint casts right on top of walleyes long before forward-facing sonar was a thing.
The side imaging and catching these fish has just been awesome. Brad goes, hey, Sam, 65 feet off your side of the boat. Pitched out there, pop, pop, boom, there he is.
Like first cast, so awesome. That one's a nice fish.
Yeah.
So what Sam's basically saying, I mean, picking them out on the side imaging and being able to be accurate, and Sam's that, there's no like, I think there's one there, it's thunk, whack, and the reason you get that is because of that tungsten.
Just chowed.
So what would you say has been like the amount of times where it's like there's fish, throw to them?
80% of the time today.
Yeah.
80%.
Yeah.
Which is a good sign. It means they're kind of hungry.
Well, it's you know, being able to call your shots, calling your shots and shooting your shots, fishing is something that's not done a lot. You know what I mean? Like for my customers, I'm not mopping up the fish ahead of my customers. If I see a fish, I'm like, hey, 45 feet out the back of the boat, fire it at a 90-degree or 95-degree angle. And once we get dialed, once guys know what I'm talking about degrees-wise out the back and how far out, a perfectly placed jig will catch the fish 80-90% of the time, especially if they're a little off the bottom. So for you guys that are like, hey man, they don't have live or they don't have 360, just going ahead, mile an hour, half mile an hour forward, looking at your side imaging, will pick out fish and you can call your shots and shoot your shots.
So this video was shot on Mille Lacs this past spring, and it was a pretty good bite for walleyes, as you can see. But the really cool thing about this particular fishery at this particular time of year is the fact that you get a bunch of big, giant Goliath smallmouth bass mixed in with the walleyes.
Might as well be a multi-species trip. Oh, this guy's gonna jump, he's gonna jump. Oh, look at that.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. So a lot of times what happens, especially this time of year, oh, that's a nice one. Wolf dog. So if anyone wasn't a believer, this is a giant smallmouth. Sam could barely pick them up. Look at that! Wow! That is a true bronze back right there. Sam's been whacking walleyes back there, and I saw this big blip on side imaging, and I casted right to it, and boom! This guy's pushing 5 pounds. Just an absolute donkey of a smallmouth. And look at the colors on him, man. It's so awesome. But, so, believe it or not, this fish hit super light, and I casted it out, and that tungsten jig telegraphed that bite right back to my hand, and whack, just slack line, felt the fish. There's the proof in the pudding right there. You have a giant bass too?
Yep, here he comes.
Oh.
He faked me out.
That's no peanut.
He played the old, I don't know I'm hooked. Oh, here we go.
That's funny. That's another nice fish.
And he's dogging it.
This is the best part about Mille Lacs is the bycatch is one of the
6 pound smallmouth
deals you can get into. Like, look at that. Maybe a little bit smaller than yours, but pretty cookie cutter.
Oh
like,
God.
Look at this thing.
Look at the colors. You're so barred up there. That is sweet.
Same in the sun. That is a gorgeous fish.
That is the best looking smallmouth all year, Sammy.
It's a gorgeous one. Right in the snoot with that short shank again. And you can't beat this kind of fishing.
I can't get over the colors on that fish. It's absolutely, it's got like letters on the one side of it.
Oh, he is pinned too. I might need to grab the pliers for this one.
And it's another bruiser smallmouth. And what's cool about this time of year, especially on lakes like Mille Lacs, where we're fishing right now. All right. Man, that guy is heavy. Holy cow. I mean, this is the cool time when like these guys right here, these guys are pre-spawn, and the other guys, the golden ones, the walleyes, are post-spawn. And that right there, this was a long shank option of the tungsten that we've been using. But yeah, check out this gorgeous fish.
Dude, that thing's a beast.
Yeah, it really is. And this is an interesting thing about this time of year is like these fish are up relatively shallow and they're spread out all over the place. So like, you'll see guys set up in certain areas, and we're kind of like looking around where like, specifically where Brad knows where there might be a lot of gravel or something, and we'll look around and we'll go over a spot and there might be a couple boats there, and Brad will be like, there's no fish here, like these guys aren't fishing fish. And so like this time of year, these fish are moving around so much, like you gotta make sure you're seeing them on your side imaging first before you set up camp and waste like 45 minutes in an area. But we've just been jumping from spot to spot chasing fish, and it's kind of been just like a little bit of everything, which is really cool. This is like almost certainly my favorite bite of the year.
Next up, Sam and Brad are gonna break down exactly how they like to rig up minnows on both the short shank and a long shank jig.
So we were talking about the short shank hooks and how it's very versatile with any size bait. It's really easy. I just go in the mouth, out the back of the head on these shiners, and you can see how it just makes that nice little profile. You don't have a lot of hook shank showing, and you're just crawling that along the bottom. And that works with this fairly large shiner, but it also works with smaller shiners, fat heads, nice little compact profile. So that's a really simple way of how we're rigging up the short shanks.
This is the standard shank jig. Sam had the short shank jig, which is awesome in a lot of different applications. The long shank jig has equal of the amount of applications where it works absolutely awesome. My favorite is the hydrodynamics of this jig are just absolutely awesome. Like you look at the front profile of that is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm gonna dive into hooking the minnow. So I'm holding my minnow like that with his belly up. I go in just like normal. I go in right there and come out the gill. Then I insert the whole shank in there and just do the 2-finger, watch this. I roll that hook right in there and then use my fingers and pull 2 fingers forward, and you see where that hook came out? Right on top, right where it should be, exposed, super sticky, and that minnow profile is right there, perfect. Now when I cast this out, it's gonna swim right, true, and nice. So that's how you do that on the standard shank hook, and then Sam's got you covered on the short shank.
Next up, Sam is gonna share a few bonus benefits of using tungsten jigs for walleyes.
All right, so we were talking about the benefits of a tungsten jig, and I think probably the most common thing, if you're out in your boat and your buddy's catching fish and you're new to walleye fishing and you're not catching fish, it's probably because your jig isn't on the bottom. So anything you can do to help your jig get to the bottom will help you catch more fish. And in calm conditions like this, a 1/4 ounce should be a 1/4 ounce, right? But actually, with this tungsten, you can see, here's a 1/4 ounce lead fireball jig, and here's a 1/4 ounce tungsten. If you look on them head on, you can see the density is so much heavier, 30% heavier than a lead jig, that little bit is gonna help you cut to the bottom faster. You're gonna feel more, you're gonna get where the fish are. So just those little things can make a huge difference if you're not getting bit. And in the wind and in current, any type of outside factor, it's exponential how much this will help you get down. You can actually get away with lighter jigs in certain situations, and on a calm day too, you can get away with a little smaller profile if you want. So it's really an added benefit, and there's a reason to pay the extra money that a tungsten costs, but it's an awesome little jig there.
All right, let's get back to the fish catching action. Here's another really nice walleye.
I hope it's a walleye. If it's a walleye, it's a toad.
Heavy. It's a walleye.
It's a walleye.
It's a big boy walleye.
Here, let me get up there, Sam. Don't step too far back. Oh,
jeez,
Sam,
oh, it's
doubled.
running. It's
We're
running
doubled.
on you. All right, I got a net then.
Okay.
You got it, Nick?
Yep. Holy cow.
Oh, just missed him, sorry.
Nice.
Oh. Gosh, that's not easy.
And Brad,
Oh, mine just came off.
Oh no.
Look at that thing though.
That is a toad.
That is a nice walleye, Sammy. Wowza.
Awesome.
Let's see that beauty.
Get her turned around here.
Man,
We've been catching a lot of big bass, and when it hit, it was feeling bassy, but
I thought it was a bass.
just a nice stud walleye.
So when I turned the boat, there was like 6-8 marks, and they looked bassy, but maybe they're just big
Yep.
walleyes.
And that little pause too, I was on the inside, so slowed down and bam.
When I stalled there, yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. That is a chunky one. Clean fish too, good colors.
Beautiful.
Well, that's about all we got for you in this video. I had a really good time out in the boat with these two, just cracking fish. To me, this was a really good bite. One of my favorite bites of the year, spring, when both walleyes and smallmouth are up shallow, and you can catch a bunch of them on jigs. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you learned something, make sure to hit that little red subscribe button down below, because we have a lot more awesome content coming in the months ahead. And until then, we will see you in the next one.